Hey guys, this is Matt for Creative. How you doing? All right, today we're here with a Super 72, Super 73 S2. And this is kind of a video that is maybe for me, con against pegs on the back of your bike. At least for me personally, these work perfectly. I got these installed and bought them at Last Mile NYC, not sponsored, but they do a great job. And anybody who lives in New York City, they usually know about this place to kind of get your repairs done, get accessories and all this stuff. So I got these 40 bucks with installation. So it was just really quick and easy. But let me show you exactly what this is. So this is an electric bike. That's because it has pedals. Usually you can rest your feet on the pedals or you can pedal with throttle assist. Oh, don't look at the mess over there. But that's kind of how you use it. But there is another way that you can ride this bike. You can install pegs, and that's what these are. These are open holes. There is nothing in here when you purchase the bike. So you go there, you either do this yourself or you install this after the fact, and the pegs kind of sit out right here. And instead of let's see, how do I describe riding this? When I have my feet on the pedals here and I'm not pedaling, I feel like I'm kind of sitting back on this and pulling against or pulling on the handlebars. So that is the way that I kind of sit. When I put my feet on the pegs here, which means my legs are going from this position to this position, I'm instead leaning forward and pushing against this. For me, just for me personally, that kind of had a different fatigue on my hand. So I was getting I was feeling pressure points in the hand here because I was not used to feeling that pressure. By the way, I've had these pegs for about maybe a month and a half before I had them removed. But when you have the normal stance on the pedals, you're kind of pulling with your fingers. And I think you're more naturally able to pull things because, you pick things up every day. This is just kind of like the natural action of using your hands, at least for me. So that was the first thing. But one thing that has become an issue for a few different reasons is the way that you kind of walk things around, the way that I live in New York City. Everything is super tight. You have your bike lanes, but sometimes people park in the bike lane. Sometimes there's different reasons that you can't actually navigate in a straightforward path. And sometimes you just have to kind of, ease your way through traffic because there's always going to be traffic in this city, no matter where you are. And the first issue that comes is that when you are on the bike, let me just sit down on the bike here. This is normally how I am. I kind of instinctually know to not bang my legs into the pedals here. But when the pegs are back here, and just remember that's where they would be, and let's say, even just look at this messy area. Okay, it's mess. That's just what it is. If you're just walking it through and I can't ride, but I need to walk it through traffic, bam, I would have hit my leg right there. So instead of having a very thin profile as I have here, you kind of either have to go all the way out here, where if you are going in between two cars, that means you're going to be right under the wheels, or you're going to be into people's cars. So you kind of have to waddle all the way out here so you don't hit yourself on the pegs, or you're just literally hitting yourself on the pegs. It's something that just doesn't work for me. And you can even see I have Band-Aids, or I have a Band-Aid in the back of my leg. I even got hit here, and that's just because I was trying to navigate the city. And if you have this kind of thing, this is not going to work for you. But if you live in the suburbs, if you live in a wide open area where you never have to navigate through kind of thin traffic as I do, then you're perfectly fine just waddling your way out. I would be too. I wouldn't feel an issue with it whatsoever. For me, it's good to have a different way to switch my stance, either having, kind of sitting like this and pulling back, or being able to sit here and kind of sit like this. You have two different ways of using the bike. But for me, it's the navigating of things. It's that this bike, as it is if you try to slide this into someplace thin, like look at the bike with no pegs. It's literally the handlebars, which are the widest point, that you have to kind of like be careful with. With the pegs, this goes from being this thin to literally this thick on either side. And that's just something that for me doesn't work. I've had people ride on the back of the bike with the pegs. It is doable. Without the pegs, I would not recommend that whatsoever. There is a kind of a placement where you can put your feet, and that is around here, but you don't want to jostle the cables. So that placement is usually for people who are sitting here in the front, not the passengers. And also you have to think, like, if you put your feet here, you're really close to these. You just got to be careful in general. For me, the pegs did exactly what they said. Like, they gave me another stance, but it was just the way that I was sitting around things that just for me personally, it wouldn't work. They took the pegs off at last mile with no charge. They were just, they understood my strife and what exactly I was going through. There is another version of pegs, and they are these fold out pegs that, kind of sit in. They have like a little, maybe a bracket or something here, and this portion here folds up, so you can get these out of the way. That's kind of the middle ground, but when I asked for those originally, they said they don't have as much durability because of the way that this kind of bracket is. So here, this is literally drilled in. It's not shallow at all. It's very sturdy. And when you go through a pothole, when you're on this, it stays like the frame of the bike. It stays there. When you have these little bracketed ones, I hope I'm using the right word. When you have those little ones that fold in and fold out, you're really resting all of your weight on maybe two little bolts that are right here. So if you go over a pothole, bam, I could see that broken in a second. So I do agree with that. I never got those just to begin with. That would kind of solve my issue about how wide things would be and how I was hitting like my own leg on the pegs. But unfortunately, they say that they're just not durable. Maybe a company can make them durable to last and to not break. But again, in New York City, there are potholes everywhere. This is solid. Hope this never breaks. Haven't had any issue with it. But because you have shocks and big tires, you are kind of okay to go through these potholes. But if you have something that's not really as strong as the frame is, then it's a possibility that that could break. But that's just me. Those are my cons against pegs. But again, if you live in a suburban area or wide open area, pegs are a good way to have another stance on the bike or to have somebody else kind of ride with you on the bike. All right, guys, if you have any comments or questions, put it in the comments section below. Don't forget I'm on Instagram at M8B9. You can email me at creativenyc2023@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.